The Eagles revealed plans for Deandre Swift and how they intend to use the recently acquired running back. Let's talk about it, and why getting a deal done now makes a whole lot of sense. Plus, ESPN lists Christian Elliss as their surprising standout for the Birds ahead of training camp. And what did Micah Parsons say that's just flat out ridiculous? But first, let's run it. Hey guys, I'm Josh and I cover the Birds. So in case you missed it on Wednesday, Kelce hosted his 3rd annual Beach Bash to benefit the Eagles Autism Foundation, which I think was a major success since they raised over $380,000. This year's event involved a raffle, an auction, as well as a VIP meet and greet for the superfans not wanting to fight the crowds, although it was the absurd beer chugging contest which got all the hype after Kelce downed 30, yes, you heard me correctly, 30 ounces of beer in 5.7 seconds. Unsurprisingly, defeating WIP's host and producer James Seltzer, who had argued he could beat the All-Pro in a beer chugging contest, but unfortunately for Seltzer, it wasn't even close. To Seltzer's credit, he showed a lot of respect to Kelce afterward by tweeting, "Jason is a superstar in every sense of the word." The most impressive part of all of this is that somehow Jason was able to keep it all down and not just puke everywhere. I wouldn't stand a chance, even though apparently this sport is more mental than anything, since Kelce did offer tongue-in-cheek saying beer drinking is mostly mental. I don't know, that's something that just looks awful, and I don't think that I want to pay for it afterward from drinking that much beer so quickly. The best part to all of this was having so many Birds come out to support their fellow teammates like Landon Dickerson signing babies, Brandon Graham bartending, Dallas Goedert passing out drinks, and Jake Elliott also dropped by.
I love it here. I love the city. My plan is to be here for a really long time and eventually call this home.
I don't think we were too concerned about Jake not being here since he signed through 2024, but still always great to hear things like that. One guy who hasn't been in Philly lately is Eagles cornerback James Bradberry, as the All-Pro has been in Tulum, Mexico, where most of us would be looking to take in some R&R, but like most guys on this team, JB is different and got a couple workouts in at the world's coolest gym, or at least that's what Men's Health magazine calls it, after he posted on his Instagram of a couple workouts. Because remember, Bradberry said a month ago that despite winning the All-Pro award last season, he wouldn't even say it was his best season, and there's more to work on. Bradberry said, "I feel like my 4th year in Carolina was when I felt my best and when I was playing really well." I mean, Pro Football Focus would disagree, but that's fine if the 29-year-old feels like there's more to unleash this season. And while we're on that topic, NFL Network's James Palmer said Philly believes there's even more untapped potential with recently acquired running back Deandre Swift, saying the Birds plan to utilize Swift's receiving skill set more frequently than the Lions did.
Right, obviously.
Sure, we all assume Swift is going to get a lot more work if he can stay healthy, and obviously when the running back was acquired during the draft, the entire organization was happy to add that dynamic of a player to an already talented group. But what type of numbers are we talking about? Well, if you look at Swift's last 3 years in the league, the Georgia Bulldog ranks 5th in the NFL for running backs with 1,198 yards receiving, along with an average of 52 receptions per season. The craziest part to all of this is the fact that Swift hasn't even played a full season yet, so how many catches are we talking about if he stays healthy? If the Eagles really mean what they say, I'm thinking somewhere around 70 catches, but let me know in the comments, what do we think about the catch total for Swift? Although some analysts aren't sure the Birds will use Deandre in the most optimal way, since according to Fantasy Pros, the Eagles had the lowest target share to running backs last season at just 12%, and had the lowest number of total targets to running backs last year. They go on to say if not for Hurts missing a couple games, those numbers would have been even lower, since Hurts threw to running backs on just 11.5% of his attempts in 2022, which ranked 2nd to last. I'm sorry, are we forgetting Jeremy Fowler's report last month saying the Eagles believe Hurts will take another jump and that Swift's arrival will get Hurts going in the passing game to give even more easy completions? This feels like an attempt for Lions fans to feel better about losing Swift and not getting much in return, especially with Lions fan-sided writer Bradberry saying Lions fans shouldn't have much, if any, fear Swift finds himself, stays healthy, and becomes a star for the Eagles this season. With how much they use their running backs, to say nothing of the depth they have, what Swift does best is not lined up to be on display all that much. If he had any hand in picking his trade destination, there were probably better fits for his skill set out there. I'm not buying it. We heard too much about Swift's excitement to be back home in Philly, so much so that the hometown reunion kept him up thinking about what it will be like to play behind this Eagles offensive line.
Great opportunity with this offensive line, with this coaching staff. I'm in a great running back room, first and foremost, with the guys that have been here. Like I said, I'm just excited to get to work each day and be a piece to the puzzle. That's it.
It's also worth pointing out that Swift is in a contract year, and as we all know, players mysteriously outperform expectations more often than not when they're looking to get paid.
Money!
GM Howie Roseman has been thinking about it for a long time too, since it really started week 1 last year when you saw Deandre's explosiveness. He had a heck of a game. Every time he touched the ball, you knew there was a chance he could take it the distance. That's what I expect to see, but what about you guys? To say Swift will be unsuccessful or inefficient because that's what Philly did last year is honestly really naive. These guys are pros after all. Plus, Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson reiterated the fact that adjustments will be made when asked about the acquisition, saying, "You do what your players do well. I think the challenge for us is to build an offense to where we're making defenses cover the entire length and the entire width of the field and be able to play on our terms." Johnson also mentioned cutting out pieces of the offense that are specifically unique to Swift's skill set and what he does well, so that the birds can be as dangerous as possible, which I'll say again is kind of a given in this league, unless maybe we're talking about a guy like Jonathan Gannon who didn't make adjustments. But back to Swift, I see this being a season where Jalen runs slightly less than he has and utilizing the screen game and dump offs to Swift so that it keeps the defenses on their heels. What do you all think though? What kind of usage will we see out of the 24-year-old? And I guess another question is, will the Eagles get a deal done soon? It seemed like something may happen several weeks ago with the rumor of an extension coming, but then nothing's come about yet. Maybe that's because the running back market sucks. Or at least according to former Eagles running back Miles Sanders, who didn't temper any emotions after going on the Rich Eisen show saying, "I think it's BS honestly. Almost every running back is underpaid right now. I don't know what it's going to take." That's a topic that needs to be brought up a little more because it sucks to be a running back right now. However you may feel about Miles blasting the Eagles' play calling in the Super Bowl, I agree that the market is tough to be a running back right now, especially with the top 3 pending free agents of New York Giants Saquon Barkley, Las Vegas Raiders Josh Jacobs, and Dallas's Tony Pollard, all being franchise tagged at $10 million. The market isn't what it once was. So I say strike a deal when you could get Swift on probably a cheaper deal than if you were to wait and let him perform really well this season. Sure, you could argue injuries are a concern, so what if you're stuck with an injury-riddled running back, but I'm pretty confident he'll stay healthier on this offense behind this offensive line. Plus, I'd rather be in that position than looking at one of my running backs sitting out or losing a guy next season because we didn't get a deal done. Anyway, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. The other story coming from ESPN is that Christian Elliss will be the player to watch for the Eagles this offseason, since the third-year player out of Idaho made several highlight plays this spring, including intercepting Jalen Hurts and returning it for a touchdown during 7-on-7 drills in the final day of OTAs. Having lost both starting linebackers in free agency this offseason, it would be a welcome development for the Eagles if Elliss can contribute along with current projected starters Nakobe Dean and Nicholas Morrow. You guys know my thoughts on this since I've talked a lot about Elliss, especially in another video in depth, but I think Elliss will be the guy next to Nakobe Dean, assuming Howie doesn't go out and make a trade. I know it's just OTA hype, but Elliss has improved, and Jeffrey Knox of Inside the Eagles reference where things are headed.
I'm hearing his name a lot more than Nicholas Morrow's. He's doing the most with his opportunities, and come training camp in the preseason, if he has a better effort, he should be the guy on the field.
Here's my weekly disclaimer. I know it's a long ways off from training camp and preseason, but the buzz around Philly is suggesting Elliss will have a legit chance to take the starting spot. And remember, Dean and Elliss have a built-in trust, having played together in live action already from last season's Titans game. Before I get destroyed in the comments, I realize that's a very small sample size, but still, it's not nothing. All right, let me have it. What am I not considering? One piece of news that should put a smile on your face is NFL.com released their Superstar Club, and I don't know what's better, the fact that Jalen Hurts made the official superstar list or that Dak Prescott was dropped out, with him saying Jalen took a massive leap in his 3rd season, becoming a consistent dominator for a loaded Eagles squad. We don't know if he'll match the dizzying heights he reached as a rusher of the football in 2022 when he became just the 2nd quarterback all time to log 165 carries in a season with 4.6 yards per attempt and 13 touchdowns on the ground, which was 2nd most by a quarterback in any NFL season. But he could get even better as a passer playing behind an elite offensive line with playmakers all around him. This was an easy decision. Thank you. For once, he gets the credit he deserves. But it gets better. On the other hand, Prescott is no longer the fresh face on the block in the franchise quarterback game. He'll begin his 8th season as the Cowboys QB1 this fall, and he's never made an All-Pro team or helped Dallas advance out of the divisional round. He led the league in interceptions last season with 15 despite missing 5 games to injury, and hasn't shown the ability to lift an average supporting cast like the Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes of the world. Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. We're just done waiting for him to become a truly great one. I'm so glad Dallas continues to put their hope in Dak, even though Micah Parsons was talking crazy when he threw shade at the Birds, telling Fox, "You could have the best lineup in the world," and the Eagles had the same team they had last year, but their team came up short. It's our turn this year. You got to capitalize on your opportunities, and this is our year. All right, keep telling yourself that, Micah. Look, I won't lie. The Cowboys have a pretty good team, but it's their lack of a superstar at quarterback, like the article is alluding to, that will hold them back come playoff time. So keep on dreaming, Dallas. This has been the Philly Special.